Hello there, fellow humans, and welcome to this funeral of the ML2, because it has been nerfed again in the last update, and now it basically is good at absolutely nothing. So now, I'd say, for this video, let's have a look at it. Let's see if there is at least something that might still be good about this vehicle, and if not, let's fall down to a minute of mourning at the end. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, I don't think I'll have to go into the stats of this vehicle, because they don't exist. So the only interesting thing about this tank really would be the armor, because obviously, just like the Kranvang, the DPM's horrible and the mobility's horrible. So, is the armor great? Like on the Kranvang? Like on the ML1 as well? No, it isn't. It absolutely isn't. The overplate is somewhat well angled, so you can get bounces from the front, but obviously, Pike knows if you turn it to the side, it gets weaker. Lower plate's always a weak spot, and the side's 80mm, which is decent enough. Then we get to the bad part, and the turret is only 175mm. Now, it is very well sloped backwards. Obviously, the side and rear of the turret are completely paper. But this is not enough to be able to bounce shots. 260mm. There's a lot of T9, especially premium rounds, can just go straight through this. Now, let's use the 9 degrees of gun depression. We're at 330 here, which is the penetration of a T10 medium heat round, roughly. Which means you can still go through, even if you use the full gun depression. And let's say if you use 7 degrees of gun depression, just like that, yup, it's 314, which means everyone's still gonna pen. That's a bit shit, isn't it? Then there are gonna be the people that are... But, oh no, I love the ML2, it can't possibly be horrible. Well, that is a completely different story, because liking a tank doesn't have anything to do with how good it is. So, you can still like a miserable tank. I mean, there's people that like the STG, for example, so there is that. So, obviously, what you still want to try to do with a tank like this is go into a hull-down position somewhat farther back, and then hope that they're not going to know how to use heat. Because if they do know how to use heat, you're basically just a piece of paper with horrible DPM and non-existent mobility. Which is obviously very sad. But anyway, as you can see, 9.8 second reload time, which is not really that good. And now it seems that the enemy have decided to not want to win, which means they went to the wrong side of the map, which is somewhat decent for us at this moment. But obviously the city is basically flat, so using the gun depression, using the turret armor, and it kind of doesn't really work that well, which is even worse. And there is 2 ISUs camping. So now let's do a bit of a expedition here, and yeah, we have completed it, and we found a IS-6. But now obviously I want to get rid of the ISUs first, because those might be somewhat dangerous. Also, another fun fact, not so fun fact, the gun elevation doesn't exist. It is a... Yep, look at that. It don't go up. It forgot its Viagra. It's just nothing. Okay, now, all 3 shots gone. And the ISU is... Yep, just gonna do that. Now, obviously, getting bullied by tier 8 tank destroyers is what this tank is very good at. And that's pretty much the only thing it's good at, is getting completely and utterly bullied by lower tier tanks. And, yeah, and there's an E75, which is gonna easily just pen everything I have. Great. Now, still taking the cap circle here, I'm gonna try to use the gun depression, which is not enough for an angle like this, which is also amazing, isn't it? And now, what we have to do here is I'm trying to isolate the T26, because that's about all I can do. And let's see, it's already going down. Look at this, doesn't even go 20 kilometers an hour. You have to kick it in the ass to make it move. Anyway, look at this. Look at it. I mean, it has a speed boost, but like, it doesn't even have the special speed boost the ML1 has, you know? So like, you can't even use that to your advantage. Oh look, I bounced the shot. What a surprise. Okay, 1.1k damage. It's not really great, but I mean, obviously that's very typical of this tank, really. Now I'm going to try to reload, which means I'm going to be back in about 5 hours, which is interesting. But yeah, now 50 TP should be my next victim if I ever get there. Like, this tank is basically like the old man that thinks he's still a soldier but cannot even get up out of his chair. That's what this tank is. And it is sad to watch, because it could be a beautiful vehicle that does great things, but instead, it is just a absolute and utter disappointment, like I am, which is great. No. Yeah, but the Emerald's actually not a bad tank, you just can't play it, I hear some people say, and this does actually happen quite frequently, you know. Excuses of a lot of people are just, when you say that a tank is shit, they're just, yeah, you can't play it. Now, there are obviously a couple of good points about that, but most of the time it's just bullshit. Now, a tank that is hard to play is, for example, a Leopard 1, which has great potential, which can work absolutely beautifully, but you have to exactly know what you have to do with that thing. You know? It is hard to play. This thing is not a challenge, this thing is challenged because, well, you can't say mentally because a tank doesn't have a brain, so it's more like metally. It is metally challenged. That's about it. But yeah, it just doesn't have any outstanding qualities, you know, because if a tank has some outstanding qualities that are hard to use, then that is a fair tank that has to be used in a certain way to work well. But this thing just doesn't have that. Tell me one thing this tank's good at, except just being hit point feeding for the enemy. And if you're telling me hull down, but no, I could just, TFT4 can just pet it with heat. Even when hull down, so not a valid argument. Anyway, I mean, is there something good about this tank as well? Well, I mean, it has a auto reloader, which has to work for something, right? I mean, it does give it a bit of combat versatility, right? Because, I mean, you can either use one shot, or you can use two shots, or you can use no shots because it's still reloading. Hello there, stock boy. But that is one of the, well, if not the only upside of this vehicle, that you can unload in bursts with the auto reloader. So the absolutely horrible DPM doesn't weigh in that massively horribly if you still have a team that supports you. But obviously, if you're in a 1vx situation where you're alone, then you're very much screwed, because obviously you're reloading for so long that a E75 is just gonna get multiple shots into you, and there is nothing you can do about it. Obviously, he's just gonna side scrape, or try to at least. And then I'm not gonna peek that. Okay. Now, obviously, they have downed one guy, and we pretty much have all the map control, which means now that what we have to do here is simply stay alive and try to hit shots, which, by the way, did I say the accuracy is also not good? That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it does have a auto reloader, which sort of redeems it just a tiny bit, you know, because you can burst the shots, so you don't have to expose yourself for that long. Like in AMX-50B, for example, but then again, it's not AMX-50B because it's slow as hell. And that the armor has about the same value, because on the MX-50B you get miracle bounces, on this one you do as well. And the 50B is also massively faster, same with the 5120, but the 5120 at least has some mobility. But then again, I don't know why Wargaming hates tier 9 autoloaders so much. So I guess they do definitely need some love and not nerfs, because that's the funny part, you know, this thing was fucking nerfed. This was nerfed in the last update. It was bad before, now it's even worse. That's the reason why I'm making this video. Like, what the hell, Wargaming? You've nerfed one of the already worst tier 9s in the game. I mean, it might be that this tank is actually performing somewhat well because people are scared of it. People think, oh my god, hold on, monster, I cannot pin. Something like that. But that could be, certainly, because obviously a tank's combat ability doesn't just come from its stats. It also comes from how people view it, you know? If people are scared of it, it might be a lot more effective than it actually is. That's just how it works. So that might be one of the points of this vehicle. Look at this traverse speed, Jesus. Oh man. The guy's just still hand cranking the turret in there. The guy has to assemble the turret crank while cranking the turret. That's not good. Yeah, just right through. And obviously I don't have any turret armor now because he can just go straight through a turret, and I have a reload of 5 million years. So the Pantera is also not being a help at the back, because he's not actually aiming at the moise gun. But yeah, as you can see, you can do a lot of damage, as you can see. I just did a lot of damage in this game. It was pretty good. But did 4,200 damage. But still, that was because I was hiding from the enemy. The enemy wasn't anywhere near me, and I could just shoot them while they were otherwise occupied. If I have to actually fight an enemy, like it is happening right here, then I am pretty much screwed because I have a pretty much longer reload than the guy, and he has less alpha damage, so... Is he AFK? Is he trying to... Is he mocking me? He didn't even... What? Okay. That was interesting. But yeah, that's about how you feel when you play the ML2 most of the time. But anyway. Now, I did 5,000 damage in this tank, so it can't be that I'm bad with this tank. So maybe this tank is just complete and utter shit. And with that said, thanks for watching. See you for the next one. Goodbye.